my arm with Toon Kings and men of Britonia. So let's set the tone, listening to the one and only. We've got to that old world charm.
Hello, our lovely denizens of the old world charm. Welcome to episode 9 of our loving podcast. We're racing towards episode 13 when we get to treat ourselves like real boys, and that we actually have a podcast that will have some longevity because the statistics say if you make it to 13, you got a podcast that's going to go for a while. Before then, it's all just smoke and mirrors. We're not actually here. You're actually in a padded cell talking to yourself about how much you love square bases. I'm joined by the sweetest of mates himself, Danny McDevitt. Hello, brother.
Hey, Adam. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. I've had a bit of a week, as I hear many of us have.
Yeah, dude, it's been wild. Yeah.
You just heard the dulcet tones of Peter the Falcon also. Hello, mate.
Yes, hello, my babies. How are you?
We're doing all right. Thank you very much to Peter for this episode.
Oh, my babies. I missed you guys. It's not like we don't talk every day, but I missed you.
Peter is recording at a ridiculous hour. I'm recording during my workday when I'm multitasking and doing my day job at the same time. And Danny's just taking it easy because, lazy.
Yeah, obviously.
Danny.
Yeah, I haven't slept in like 24 hours. It's totally fine, guys.
Well, if it makes you guys feel better, if we want to wallow in it,
I am. I will, and I'll continue to do so.
I did also have a rough week. I haven't been talking about it because I've been just trying to forget, but came down with the flu 2 days ago. So been running a fever and single dad of 3 kids. So I've been trying to manage the household and driving to St. John. So it's an 1.5-hour drive for work. And I'm actually in the airport tower right now in our little break room, which is a padded bedroom for soundproofing.
Nice.
So I'm laying in bed, girl talk style, chatting with you guys.
I actually like this image. I could see your feet like kind of kicking back.
Yeah. Well, they are 100%. This is normally how I podcast, actually.
This is preferred podcast method.
I've brought this up
like on
other podcasts that this is what I tend to do if I'm allowed to. But some podcasts have very strict rules. Pablo Martinez back in the Chapter Tactics days refused to let me do it. There were several others.
He was kind of, a domineering presence.
He was.
That's what they said about Pablo. The domineering Martinez, definitely. Oh boy. I'm sitting here with 3 screens in front of me, 2 of which I have my day job reports and Microsoft Teams open, pretending I'm working hard for the money and for the man, but in reality, I'm thinking of nothing but square bases, ranks and flanks, and this beautiful community that is streaming up around us, despite the intense amount of incredible takes I continue to read day after day, hour after hour. If you want to know how I feel and think about your opinions, you're gonna have to pay for it, baby. Part 2. Get over there.
Yeah, if you're paying for our opinions, we love them. If you're not paying, get out of here.
We've always hated you.
I'm just like manifesting the opposite side of the coin to the lovely Rob Symes, who is just a pig in a sty when it comes to bad takes on the internet. He's like rubbing himself in it, just living his best life. I refuse to participate. And I'm just like, no, I got dreams and aspirations for my day. Thank you very much. But good on him, and soldier on. Please enjoy some square-based content yourselves. But yeah, this episode, guys, we've got a little topic to discuss at the start. Getting your models onto the tabletop. That being specifically talking about non-GW models, for which there are many. They are diverse. Be that coming from Age of Sigmar, a third-party product, a printed your own product, and how to get that on the tabletop in a way that is functional, adaptable, and enjoyable for both parties. That's going to be our first topic. Then we're going to be doing another double-page spread of universal special rules, breaking those down, and then we're all going to cringe as these 2 gentlemen take us to the Magic Armours, and we review the Magic Armours from the Big Blue Book. But please come over and join us on part 2, where we have a bunch of patron questions lovingly donated and gifted to us to fill our content shelves with a lot of rules questions. And we're going to be discussing Danny's run at a recent RTT and also a couple of games that we have had recently as well, what we have learned and what is our evolving strategies for our said factions. That being all the pointer years for Danny, anything that has scales for Falcon, and ogres and chaos dwarves for myself.
I need to say we should bury this lead. Danny won that RTT. So if you're really interested in learning how to win games of Warhammer Fantasy in the old world, listen to Danny talk.
That's actually going to be
talking about. We have no proof that we've ever won anything. Ever.
Hey, I got a big mouth, Billy Bass. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but that was in an 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle Tournament, not in the old world.
Yeah, different game system actually.
Yeah. And Adam, the TO of that event was very biased. And
it's true.
Much zero credibility.
Zero credibility.
100%.
Well known.
I 100% didn't table 4 or 5 of my opponents. That definitely didn't happen. But I also have Nicolas Cage's hand. Shout out to the dwellers below from the Moonstruck event that they held just before the original Old World was destroyed. I won that event. I still have Nicolas Cage's can
I don't like that.
from the film somewhere in my house, which was the trophy for that event.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, that makes me deeply uncomfortable.
All of their events back in the day were Nicolas Cage films. They were based on Nicolas Cage films.
I'm just going to say I'm leaving.
I'm in. I'm back in. I was creeped out a little bit by the hand, but now I'm back in.
No, it's a hilarious theme that I hope persists. But anyway, let's jump into our first topic. Not our main topic. Our main topic is reviewing hilarious nonsense and these guys trying to be theater actors. But so much has changed since we left off. With 8th edition. Seriously, when I was playing back then, like I just mentioned, back in 8th edition, like at that Moonstruck event, I remember everyone was dumbfounded because there was a gentleman who had I can't remember if he had sculpted it himself or whatnot, but he had a full army of Tomb Kings that were living Khemri models. Like they were living Tomb Kings models. They were alive. They had flesh. Cool. They looked absolutely stunning. They won best presented everywhere they popped up. There was another gentleman who had a bespoke built squig army, a lot of styrofoam balls, and then a bunch of putty, a bunch of two-part epoxy pasted over it. Looked absolutely freaking great. We used to call it the Skittles army because it was so vibrant and, bounced off the shelves. And those are like the 2 that I can remember in my entire community. Whereas now I feel like it's almost a 50-50. Like it's a coin flip whether or not these are third-party products, they are bespoke, 3D prints, or they're alternative models from Age of Sigmar, another game system adapted. It feels like that is much more of the feel, especially in Australia, because things are so, diggity darn, dollary do expensive. But how about you boys? What's yours? What's the flavor over there, or the disposition?
So I will say, of the games I played in person, every single one of them, except for one, were versus 3D printed armies.
Yeah. What about yourself, Peter? Or if you have any idea of the feel of your community?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. We had a very vibrant Warhammer Fantasy Battle community years ago here, and most of those guys are still around and still playing. So a lot of the games I've managed to get in, or that I've coached people through of this edition so far, have been with like old school 8th edition armies with very little 3D printing. That said, one of my buddies who runs Ogre Kingdoms has been on an absolute binge with 3D printed ogres to add to his collection. He already has a very sizable Ogre Kingdoms army that's fully painted very nicely in that old school kind of gray skinned motif. But he's added all sorts of like witch hunter style ogres and like merman ogres and sharkman ogres, and it's really adding some really cool kind of flavor to his army. I have a couple other friends that are now 3D printing like chaos dwarves and some of the more expensive, more Forge World heavy armies as well right now, the legacy style. So we're seeing more and more of that. Currently, I also have a couple of guys that we're in the middle of training and teaching the game that are converting their AOS models over, so they're getting base extenders and things for them. So yeah, it's kind of the gamut. I would say the majority are still running the old models, but we're getting more and more influx of different styles.
Yeah, it feels like the spectrum is alive and well now, whereas previously it was the exception rather than anything else, which is, I mean, I don't see it as a bad thing. I am always an advocate for supporting your friendly local gaming store. Wherever you so happen to be playing games, please support them, drop some dollars, make sure they keep and stay alive and vibrant and able to keep doing what they're doing. Apart from that, I'm definitely not going to be here and chill out for any one business, company, or product. You take and you play whatever makes your soul light with excitement and passion for this great game. I mean, I've got literally an entire G-Dub Ogre's Army sitting next to me that apparently I'm not supposed to be playing because it's a Legacy or Renegade faction. I don't care. Try and stop me. I can take my Ogres from my cold dead hands. But how do we go about getting some of these miniatures on the table? I actually had a good friend of mine, Lee, reach out to me. And he has a freaking-tastic couple of miniatures that he has played in Age of Sigmar and various other games that were the right size and scale for those at the time, but they're vastly too big for what they're expected to be as now. Case in point was, I think he has a Khorne Demon Prince that I think is a modified Samus sculpt from Forge World. Mm-hmm. That is gigantic, but it is so freaking cool. And we want people to be able to use these bespoke, gorgeous models in the game as long as we can make them function as the what they're supposed to be. As long as we can make them make sense, I think they should be encouraged. If it's impossible for them to make sense, like impossible to be represented on the right size base or within reason, unfortunately, there's probably some hard choices need to be made, probably by a TO or your opponent. But gentlemen, what are some ideas for people getting these models onto the table, or how's the best way to let people play with their awesome, freaking imaginative, innovative sculpts in an intuitive way?
So I've seen it done a couple of different ways. If a model is like way too big, like for instance, I remember a guy used the Forge World Bloodthirster for his Bloodthirster, and that model was like far too large.
12 times bigger than this.
Yeah, it's huge, right? So he had it on a big square base, but if his opponents didn't like that it was on such like a big base, he had a little like 50 millimeter base that it was supposed to be with like a painted sign that said Bloodthirster here. Yeah. And he'd move that around the table and just put the Bloodthirster behind it so you could see where the thing was.
That's a good place to start, right? That is the easiest way to just be like, cool, I want to use this amazing freaking model, but it is way too big. So if at any point it becomes mechanically unsound for me to use this model, here's the base it's supposed to be on, and we'll proxy that in, and suspend disbelief for a couple of rounds of combat, so to speak. Exactly. That's pretty much what you mean, yeah?
Yeah, totally. And then the other way to do this is to use a lot of cork. And like you can build up a base like to be pretty large on or other modeling materials to like be pretty large, like not just in the horizontal, but also in the vertical. So like if you built a long enough thing for like Samus, for example, to sit on a 50 millimeter base, I think that's what a Demon Prince is on. I don't actually know the answer to that for sure, but I'm pretty sure he's on a 50 by 50 still. You could build it so the back was way out, so we had like 1 foot stepping on the base and then 1 foot that was like hanging behind him or something like that, elevated, so he'd be kind of looming over his opponents. Like stuff like that you can do. But I it's important to pick models too based on what size they should be to fit on the base, because the base is really important, right?
For sure.
Yeah. There is something to be said for the fact that while we can suspend disbelief for a period of time and it looks super awesome, there is like some game impact to having these super large models on the board. So often when I've had friends or acquaintances that really wanted to run a cool model, but it was just like way too large, I would ask if they have a stand-in model that they could use, kind of like what Danny was suggesting with like the little sign, but something of like the appropriate size without it having to be like an actual Demon Prince. Or if I have one, I'll lend it to them for the game to be like, you can have that guy on the board, but I'm just going to give you this for now. Cork is always the solution. Also, alternatively, maybe look at other models in your book to use that model as. Like Samus is, I think, a regular on 130 mil base, which is what the Bloodthirster is allowed to be on. Bloodthirster is badass as shit in this edition. So there's nothing stopping you from using him as that. As another example, if you really want to get that cool model on the board. There are some that are harder than others. I saw recently, it may have even been today, someone trying to figure out how to make a Dread Saurian work. And that model's on a 250 mil base.
Yeah,
like
it's huge.
Like I have one. He's beautiful. I miss using him a lot, but he's the one that's a little bit more difficult to make work unless you're using it on like a display board or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much of a shame as it is, like that one might be a road too far. Like the Dreadsaurian like size miniatures. Maybe we're talking about the idols of Gork or whatever they are for Orcs and Goblins as well. There is just a scale. I'm hoping we get rules for the Chaos War Mammoth one day, or we get back the Empire Landship one day. But those are like of a scale of actually, I'm not sure how big the Landship is, but that is of a scale that might just be we have no function, no way to get that in the game. But see, the thing is, though, we have models in the game that are they are really hard to wield. My case in point would be something like the Mortis engine. The Mortis engine charges you. It's actually impossible for it to base you in the front unless it's been built in such a hard and difficult way that the front of its base can connect with its opposition. Usually you see them having to spin them around and they come in backwards. And that is a thing you can do. So here's actually Adam's hot tip. If it's impossible for you to fit it on the base and you are just dead set you want to run this without significant overhang, don't overhang the front and try your best to not overhang one of the sides. If you have a pure right angle that is exactly intuitive, unless you are being hit by both flanks or in the rear and in the front, you're actually always going to have like 90% of the time, you're always going to have the proper frontage to be able to be spun and placed into base contact. So at least when you come to measuring and things like that, you can still do things appropriately with the model. So if you maintain the purity and function of one flank and your frontage. So put the model to the back of the base if it needs to be, and to one side or the other, not dead in the middle. It might look stupider, but it will actually be more functional. You might just have to put some weights underneath it to make sure the bloody thing stays up. But that will be my hot tip. Make sure you maintain one right angle, because then at least you can spin it for any one flank and always have a frontage to be viable in actually getting things to base space. Any other hot tips we got, gents? I know there's a great product that has been created by Mini Wargaming that I saw this weekend. I go to the Mini Wargaming Forge or whatever it is, but they have created bases for they're smaller than either Age of Sigmar or Old World, but they can be popped out and inserted into the bases of either. And so you get and I think they had their Ogre army is on them now. And so they have squares next to ovals next to whatever, and their Iron Blaster is on a chariot base, and it just pops out of the larger chariot base that it's on now for the Old World, and then it slots straight back in to the oval base it needs to be for Age of Sigmar. And so they've got one model range that has complete duality. And I think that's a beautiful product, and there are a multitude of other products like that out there that you can track down to get duality in multiple game systems out of the one miniatures collection, I say. So definitely look those up.
They're huge, and they're actually pretty inexpensive right now. It's just about finding people with stock. You can get them in MDF or in plastic. I bought a bunch from Green Stuff World to adapt some AOS models that I had for my Lizardman army. I've also just gone on Etsy and just randomly got stuff. If you can find the STLs, you can 3D print some really cool bases nowadays that kind of let you interchange between being circles and ovals and being squares. I highly recommend it. It helps a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're a fantastic, innovative products that we're getting now in the game, and we should be encouraged to take advantage of them. And a lot of people being like, "Oh, but we're going to hurt bottom lines and buy, we're going to buy one army and make duality of it and all this stuff." And I'm like, shut up! You're just going to make another army. We all know that. We all know you're just going to make another army. Stop lying to yourself. Anyway, we're going to move on to the review portion of our show. We're going to be working forwards with where we left off in the Big Blue Book, that being with the Universal Special Rules, of which there are many. So we're breaking it up over many weeks. For those following along at home, we're going to be starting with page 170 of the USRs. We're going to be doing 2 double-page spreads, and then we're going to be moving on and reviewing some Magic Armours. But for this double page, we're going to be starting off with the Fly Special Rule. Which one of us is more confident with this? Who wants to take it away?
Oh, I got it.
Danny's got it. So
Fly
if he F's this up even slightly, crucified.
Gonna get torn up. All right. So Fly. A model with this special rule can fly, capitalized.
Get it.
Models that can capitalize fly can choose to either move normally on the ground using their movement characteristic or move by flying. How many inches a model can fly varies from model to model and will be shown in brackets after the name of the special rule. Shown here is X. Models that choose to move by flying may move as normal, i.e. they can charge march as if moving on the ground, except they're able to pass freely above other models, units, and terrain features without penalty. And they can march whilst within 8 inches of an enemy without having to make a leadership test. They may end their movement in terrain, but will suffer its effects if they do so. They cannot end on top of impassable terrain or another unit or within 1 inch of an enemy unit. Models that can fly must begin and end all their movement on the ground. A character with a special rule cannot join a unit without the special rule and vice versa. There's a lot of rules here.
Mm-hmm. There's like 6.
Yeah, right? six rules for 1. It's a bargain.
Yep.
This is interesting for a bunch of different reasons, I think, right? Like, and it's different. And this, because there's more, like, I feel like there's more statistic modifiers in this edition than there have been in other editions. Do you guys think that?
Yeah,
I agree.
I think that. It used to be, it was literally Law of Shadow that had like more than 1 debuff. And now it feels like every single law has like more than 1 debuff.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's pretty common to have your movement debuffed. And, I don't know how often that occurs, or buffed or debuffed with movement. But fly would override that. So some of the rules don't like work kind of wonkily with this. Like the Tomb King's My Will Be Done on top of the dragon. Right?
Yep.
I didn't read before that they can march within 8 without having to take a test.
Yeah.
I do like that.
It's good.
Yep. It's a great rule. If you have it, you should use it.
I think it is. So fly was, I think, busted in 8th edition. I think fly was too good. You were just unhinged from everyone else was just strapped to the laws of gravity, and you're like, physics do not apply to me. Frontages mean nothing. I will go wherever I please at all times. Because you can march 20 inches and all.
Yeah.
And fly over whatever you wanted. I feel like it's less abusable than it was, but it is still freaking credible. I'm waiting for the day when someone just plays like an army that is 60% fly and just runs absolute rings around everybody, which, is very possible, especially with like things like Peg Knights and various other beasties being great. All right, moving on. Frenzy. Our Frenzied model has a +1 modifier to its attack characteristic. This modifier does not apply to the model's mount in the case of cavalry models, to the beasts that draw it in the case of a chariot, or to its rider in the case of a monster. In addition, if the majority of the models in a unit are frenzied, then a unit automatically passes any fear, panic, or terror tests it is required to make. If a unit that includes 1 or more frenzied models is able to declare a charge during the declare charges and charge reaction subphase of the turn, it must do so. If the majority of the models in a unit are frenzied, it cannot choose to flee as a charge reaction, nor can it ever choose to make a restraint test. Unlike other special rules, frenzy can be lost during a game. Any model that loses a round of combat will immediately lose this special rule. It's virtually the same as it ever was, but you no longer have the chance to restrain frenzy. You used to have to make so many more leadership tests than everybody else. But now you actually have even less opportunities to do so. So frenzy, while still being the same goodness as +1 attack as it always was, the T's and C's are actually way harsher.
They are.
Yeah.
Is this a good rule still, though? I'm not sure it is. I actually don't like frenzy personally. I find it takes more than it gives now.
It can be a real liability if you're not effectively utilizing your other units to block your charges.
Yeah, correct.
So,
and what I mean by that is all of a sudden you've got 1 unit with frenzy, and now you need a handler unit for your unit with frenzy.
Right. Right.
It feels like
true.
It's like handicapping you.
Yeah, they have to have. It's the buddy system, Adam, with frenzy.
It's the buddy system.
The other thing that's different from this in 8th edition is your charge range isn't nearly as long either, though.
True.
So, because like you could potentially have to charge somebody who is like, if your movement 17 inches away with your frenzied infantry, right?
Yeah, I would do it all the time. Like if people weren't within general BSB range, I'd put something at max charge range and just try and bait them into getting themselves killed.
Right, exactly. Just it's easy to fail a leadership test, right? And so this is a little bit less bad in that respect, but only a little. It's worse that you can't maybe try and not have it happen to you, right?
Yeah, exactly right. It's harder to avoid the downsides, I guess.
Yes.
Falcon, what do you think?
I mean, I agree with everything you guys have said. Like you do really, especially for fast moving frenzy units, you really do need to have a babysitter that can sit in front. There is also some weird rules interactions with Frenzy right now that I'm hoping get some FAQs. We've talked in the past on the podcast about does Frenzy stack, because it does apply a modifier, and at the beginning of the universal special rules, it does indicate if it applies a modifier to a characteristic, it does stack. Yep. As far as I've been informed, and I think we'll expect to see in an FAQ shortly, it does not. It's an on or off situation. Units either have Frenzy or they don't. You don't get like 8 Frenzies if you stack them. Other things about Frenzy, because of the wording on charges, which is an old wording on declaring charges, some people think that if you have a friendly unit in front of your frenzied unit and they can see another target, they still have to declare the charge because of that little rider at the end that states if the unit in front of them or in the way could potentially move, then you have to declare the charge. In the past, that is a rider that's existed before, and it was always generally assumed that if you controlled the unit that was protecting them, as long as you declared your intent that these guys are not moving, you don't have to declare a charge with the frenzy, because like you're in control there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That said, like it has been like in 8th edition, I remember trying to deal with that as a TO a couple of times. And I can see the argument the other way. Other things about this frenzy, and I think one of the weird ones that I hope does get FAQ'd is the potential to get locked in drilled formation if you also have frenzy.
Oh, yes.
Because if you are drilled, you are still allowed to declare charges. But if you're frenzied, you can't redress ranks. So you declare the charge, as far as I understand it, you would declare the charge while in drilled formation. You have no option to redress ranks because you're frenzied. So you have to charge. And so I'm wondering if that'll be addressed.
Okay, I could see that.
Otherwise, you're kind of like in a permanent state of standing still.
Just means if you do the frenzy rule, you'd never risk putting yourself in there in drilled. You just always these are my ranks. I'm staying this evermore until the unit is dead or have won the game.
But to see, I think it'll just be changed so that you can redress or something to that effect.
Sure. Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to have to be really good at bodyguarding that unit if you're going to go that route.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but frenzy itself, it is weaker than in previous editions for sure. I'm way less likely to take a unit with frenzy unless it's super cheap. So I don't care if it gets lost, or if I have like significant bodyguards for it.
That's what I mean. Like I hate the idea of taking a medium strength user with frenzy. It's either units I do not care about and it can be thrown away, or a unit that is so expensive that it's worth bodyguarding, protecting, and kind of chaperoning into the action. I mean, I'm envisioning things like witch elves with multiple characters in a cauldron, like is worth herding and chaperoning into the good stuff. Things of that nature. All right. Next USR, Furious Charge. During a turn in which it made a charge move of 3 or more, a model with this special rule gains a +1 modifier to its attack's characteristic. Perfectly said. Is a good rule. Moving on. Danny, you want to get the next?
Sure. Hatred. A model with this special rule may reroll any failed rolls to hit made against a hated enemy during the first round of combat. Which enemies are hated vary from model to model and will be shown in brackets after the name of the special rule shown here is X. Some models have hate all enemies, meaning they hate all enemy models equally.
Mm-hmm.
It's very progressive.
Yeah, equal opportunity haters.
Yep. Hatred is still a great rule, I'm of the opinion of.
So it's even better.
Yeah.
Because you're not forced to pursue.
Yeah. True. Yes, they took away the downside and just left all the good stuff.
But a lot less stuff has hatred now than did before.
Yeah. It used to be like just slap a warrior priest in whatever the hell and
it
bang,
was
hatred.
My army special rule, dude.
Yeah. I also think hatred is I actually am of the opinion rerolls to hit have gone up in value immensely because the amount of dice we're throwing per unit is drastically reduced. So just every hit absolutely counts. So anything that gives you rerolls to hit, I think is stonking, absolutely rising in value.
Dude, I love playing against high elves as dark elves.
I like that as well. Elf on elf crime is just a good time. Tell us about Horde here, Peter.
Horde. Some troops find strength in numbers, gathering in deep formations that crowd together tightly. A unit with a special rule may increase the maximum rank bonus it can claim, as determined by its troop type by 1.
So you can have 3 ranks of bonus rather than only 2 like everybody else, yeah?
Yep. And it works with stuff like Warband and other good rules. It's good.
Yeah, it makes like Tomb King's cavalry can be, they have horde, so you can have 2 rank bonus on your heavy cav, which is kind of interesting. It's too bad that unit is really not good.
The first time I heard, I was like, has Danny found a way to make this unit good? And then he did.
So the trick with them is to just take a lot of them, and then they're really annoying to kill because they're really fast and they can lock up your units.
Yeah. All right. How about that? Is to represent its Howdah and its crew, a behemoth with this special rule has a split profile and follows the split profile chariots and firing platform rules. See page 194. In all other respects, this model is a behemoth. It's pretty much just telling you get to use the profiles that are on the sheet. It's it's almost a rule that didn't need to be written. But
well, it does have some like other negatives and benefits, like for Stegodons, for Lizardmen. It means that and when a Stegodon gets into close combat, like your opponent is getting to fight it at weapon skill 2. Even if the Stegodon itself is 3 or 4.
No one cares about Lizardmen, Peter.
Sorry, it kind of sucks. But firing platform is great for the 360 view. So
it is. Yeah, that's the best. That is literally the best part, right? Is the 360. All right, Petey, ignores cover.
Ignores cover. Even dense cover offers no safe haven from a skilled marksman wielding a well-crafted weapon. If a model making a shooting attack has this special rule, it ignores any to hit modifiers caused by partial or full cover. This is awesome. It's great.
So good now, right?
It helps so much.
Yeah.
Dudes, I just think this is easily the best rule a shooting unit could ever have. Your opponent's ability to give its own units cover by using other units or the vast increased amount of terrain we have on the tables now. This is phenomenal.
I think it's the second best rule you can have for a shooting unit because
it's poison.
Better.
Yeah, it's
poison is just the best.
That's fair. Yeah, unless someone can make you hit on 7s, and then what poison? Never.
Yeah, that's true. Then I'm going to want ignores cover, dude.
That's right, baby. Danny, you got next one.
Yeah, sure. Immune to psychology. If the majority of the models in a unit are immune to psychology, the unit automatically passes any fear, panic, or terror tests it is required to make. However, if the majority of the models in a unit have the special rule, the unit cannot choose to flee as a charge reaction. Note, this special rule does not make a unit immune to any test made against leadership not stated here.
So if there's a spell that makes you test for a leadership or something of that nature, they'd still have to do it.
Yeah, stupid doesn't affect stupid.
I generally find immune to psych to be pretty good.
Yeah. Unless you like want to flee with a unit, right?
Yeah,
like, I don't want it on little fast.
I mean, it's bad on redirectors, right? Because you don't have the options. But yeah, fair enough. All right, moving on. We have impact hits. Very self-explanatory. Impact hits is one of these beautiful rules that now has an X in brackets, denoting how many dice do you roll for impact hits. The number of impact hits caused varies from model to model. It will be shown in the brackets above. Often this is determined by the roll of a dice, be D6 or D6 plus 1 for a lot of chariots. Impact hits can only be made by a charging model that moved 3 or more and is in base contact with the enemy. Impact hits and attacks made in combat. Our attacks that are made in combat and always strike at initiative 10 regardless of modifiers. So they don't happen before the fight and contribute combat race, which is what happens there, which is fantastic. And that hit automatically uses the unmodified strength characteristic of the model. And of course, they can be affected by, scything, being heavy chariot and stuff, and having extra negatives denoted by special rules, etc., etc. Impact hits, being an initiative 10, I love. Are these all we're making them out to be, Falcon?
Oh no, they're fantastic. The one thing is reminding people that they have to at least move 3 inches.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure.
I've had people redirect me from 2.9 away already, and I've been like, "You son of a bitch!"
Yeah, it's fun.
It's such a good tactic versus ogres because their weapon skill is so crap on stuff like iron blasters and the scrap launchers that five idiots standing in front of my chariot, and I don't get the impact hits, man, I don't know if I kill you. I've got like 6 attacks hitting on 4s, winning on 3s.
Given the way your
dice
take
out my harpies.
Sorry, go Falcon.
I said, given the way your dice roll, I just don't think you do.
I saw some of that.
Yeah, I just use the breath weapon and stand there now. Like, just stuff it. Who cares? You're just idiot. We'll waste both our models. Congratulations, Danny. What were you saying?
Oh, I was going to ask. Do you think it kills 5 harpies?
I mean, not my chariots, but someone else's probably.
Sure. Well, I don't know. Maybe.
Sticking with you, Danny. Tell us about Impetuous, which is one of, I believe, the
I see
new
how
ways of.
I see how it is.
What do you say?
Do you want to do Impetuous? You can do Impetuous, Peter.
No,
stop it! No.
Adam is intentionally feeding me the least amount of these as possible.
I'm looking for the ones with the least flavor text. But hey, you are getting Killing Blow,
flavor text. Why are you not picking this one?
Enjoy Killing Blow. I was leaving you something juicy at least.
Okay.
All right, Impetuous. If during the declare charges and charge reaction subphase of its turn, a unit that includes one or more Impetuous models is able to declare a charge, roll 1d6. On a roll of 1 through 3, the unit must declare a charge. On a roll of 4+, the unit may act as normal. All downside.
It's shitty frenzy.
Yep.
It is all what used to be the bad sides of frenzy taken out into its own bespoke handicapped special rule. Congratulations, your unit is worse. Is all I see when I see Impetuous. 50-50. You don't
like the nastiest close combat units, though, right?
Oh, you don't care, right? If it's on the nastiest close combat unit, like I'm going to charge it all. But opportunities anyway.
Wolf Riders, they're less excited about that.
my saber tucks are not enamored.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah. But there are workarounds. Like you just don't put them. Like if it's on a redirector, don't put it into max charge range until the turn you want to use it.
Yeah.
It is fairly straightforward to take away the downsides. Where it sucks is on stuff like is it Knights Errant?
Yeah, Knights Errant, or just like that entire Errantry Crusade.
Yeah. When it's on like your bread and butter or your entire army, it does kind of suck.
Yeah, I don't know. There gets to be a tipping point, right? Where if your army is just that aggressive, you can just kind of play it like that, like right?
Just live your best life.
Yeah. And then you play against
yourself off with other units too. How does that work with Impetuous?
That's weird. Charges all happen at the same time. So I was about to have an answer, and then I was like, well, wait, I don't know if that works that way.
Yeah, dude, it's weird.
That one is one where I'm not sure, because like I would think because everything happens simultaneously, you do have to roll for everything at the same time.
Yeah.
And that you don't get the block protection.
Because it could happen?
Wait a second.
Because it could happen that they move out of the way, right? And you have no control over it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm the active player, and I have control of the certain amount of order operations when things happen all at the same time. I have a unit, and I have 2 units, one blocking the other one. They both have Impetuous. They've both rolled to have to be Impetuous. I choose to charge with the one that's behind the first one first. It can't declare a charge because I have the order of operations, and therefore there's no downsides to Impetuous for that unit, and it just bounces off the other one is the worst case. And then the other one has to charge off, but who cares? Because I've used that one to protect the other one, just because I have control over when things that happen at the same time happen at the same time. Is that correct?
I don't know.
I think that's correct. But like it sounds like it's something that I, as the active player, should have control over. But it also sounds abusive.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
that's why I only ever run Ripperdactyls that are Impetuous, so that I can hide them behind stuff.
I really want to play that Errantry War list.
I know you sent me the list. I thought it was pretty exciting. It wouldn't be for me because Impetuous on everything my brain would blow up. But
it's like 50 Knight Errant and some Pegasus Knights, and like it's just like all gas, no brakes, dude.
Yeah, all gas.
I think what Danny is saying is that if you intend to charge every turn with every unit anyway, Impetuous cease to exist. Who cares?
Yeah, true.
It's not even a rule. If you just intend to be charging ABC in there, always be charging.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I like that. All right, Killing Blow, Petey. Let's do it.
I thought you were going to do it yourself. I really did.
No, I was almost doing it. I was giving you. I was going to leave large
so
target
sad,
there.
but
It's gonna
also
be a large
a lot
target
of
instead of
respect.
killing blow.
Would have been a lot of respect. Killing blow. The most skilled warriors can slay their enemies with a single deadly blow. If a model with this special rule rolls a natural 6 when making a roll to wound for an attack made in combat, it is struck a killing blow. Enemy models whose troop type is infantry or cavalry are not permitted an armor or regeneration save against a killing blow. Ward saves can be attempted as normal. If an enemy model whose troop type is infantry or cavalry suffers an unsaved wound from a killing blow, it loses all of its remaining wounds. Note that if an attack wounds automatically, this special rule cannot be used. Killing blow is amazing. It always was really good. It's even better now because it affects everything that's cavalry and infantry, which means monstrous cavalry and monstrous infantry are also impacted.
Yep, 100%
You
agree.
know it,
I think
baby.
killing blow is
You
phenomenal.
love it. Adam
Absolutely
hates it.
phenomenal. I hate it. I loathe it. Never seen a worse rule in my life. Disgusting.
Yeah, dude, let me tell you how good it feels when your death hag with the Executioner's Axe rolls 2 6s to wound against Venerable Ushabti, and they just get no save and just die.
Oh.
Well, Adam, in our game that we started and we haven't finished yet, that turn 1 charge you wanted to make with your Mournfang, I was really hoping you'd hit it because then I could flank charge you with my my Blade Lord that has the Twilight Spear, and I was like, all I want to do is just rip up a couple Mournfang.
Yeah, it would have been beautiful.
And then you failed, and I failed, and everybody's just standing in the middle of the board.
Benny Hill music ensued. It was a great time.
Yeah.
All right, large target. Enemy models never suffer to hit modifiers for full or partial cover when shooting at models with this special rule. In addition, a model can draw a line of sight to a model with this special rule over or through other models and vice versa. So that means a unit with this special rule can shoot over other models and be unimpeded in doing so and be shot in the same manner. Large target is good, I think. It's a good, well-designed rule. It both giveth and taketh.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Honestly, that first sentence, I completely glossed over it for the first week I was playing this. I totally was letting my opponents get partial cover if there was stuff in front of them. So,
all right, levies. Stick with you, Peter. Let's go again.
Ooh, 2 levies. Many regiments are made up of unwilling fighters pressed into service. Models with this special rule cannot use the inspiring presence rule of the Army's general, nor the hold your ground rule of a battle standard. However, little is expected from levies in battle. Therefore, units that do not have the special rule are not required to make a panic test when a friendly unit of levies breaks and flees from combat.
So it's like the insignificant rule, like the many others of
and
this
like
nature.
Peasantry and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you just don't care what they do. You're like, whatever. The rabble gonna rabble. Peasants can append peasant. I don't know. Danny, next one.
Sure. Loner. Some warriors. Oh man, I just started, Peter. I don't want to steal your bed, Peter. No, you got
less.
All right. A character with a special rule cannot be your general and cannot join a unit without this special rule. A unit with this special rule cannot be joined by a character without this special rule. So,
yay! That's a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, so just they don't get leadership bonuses, or just you can't join. It just restricts what can join the unit and who characters can join. Right? Yeah,
it's really good. It's a really good little rule for assisting in list building. So I found, at least so far, most of the loner units and loner characters are really well designed together in most of the army books. I really like it.
I agree with that, actually.
Magical attacks. Any attack made or hit caused by a model with a special rule or made using a weapon with a special rule is a magical attack. Note that all spells are considered to have this ability, the special rule, as they are hits caused by magic items. I love that it says what magical attacks are indeed magical attacks, and it confirms that these are magical attacks. That magical attacks does not infer any special rule apart from the fact that they interact with ethereal, right?
Well, and warp spawned.
Yeah. It's just such a bunch of nonsense words.
There's a bunch of fringe cases too, like Phoenix Guard don't get their 6-up board against magic attacks.
There's a number of special items too that say you get ward saves from non-magical attacks.
It's funny that they could have said none of those weapons. That paragraph could cease to be, and it wouldn't change anything about how magical attacks interact, because all the things that magical attacks interact with are listed on the things that they interact with, not on the rule that says magical attacks. I
just wanted to define both. That's fair. That's a fair point, Adam.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny, actually. Anyway, moving on. Danny, magic res.
Oh, right. Magic resistance. The casting roll of any enemy spell, including bound items, that targets a unit that includes one or more models with this special rule suffers a modifier as shown in the brackets after the name of the special rules. Shown here is -X. Note that the special rule is not cumulative. If 2 or more models in the unit have the special rule, use the highest modifier.
I love this.
Yeah,
I think this is
better than before.
This is one of my favorite changes from other editions to now.
I'm glad it's not just a ward save or extra dice.
Same. So I am resistant to magic. It's harder for you to cast magic upon me. Makes all the freaking sense in the world. And I think it's so good. And the fact that you can, like, in a lot of times, I'm not putting these on characters. I'm using these on unit champions. I'm upgrading units to have magic res because there's a lot of magic items that are common items that give this. I think it's a phenomenal touch to make this rule applicable and impactful.
Yep.
Agreed.
Go ahead. It makes the enemy spells weaker too, so they're easy to dispel when they target these units, so it's even less likely to go off.
Exactly. It's a double-edged sword. You're debuffing theirs and you're increasing yours by like in a backhanded manner. I think it's really, really well designed in that case. All right. Mercenaries. You can have this one, Peter. I'm just joking.
Oh my God. Waiting with bated breath. Okay. Mercenaries. Mercenary bands roam the Warhammer world looking for employment in the armies of foreign lands.
It's actually how I recruited Peter to this show. I found him
roaming
for employment.
Yeah, looking for employment. That's how I get most of my jobs. Often an army can include certain units drawn from another army list as mercenaries. Any such units included in your army gain this special rule. Mercenaries cannot use the inspiring presence of the army's general, nor the hold your ground rule of a battle standard. Mercenaries cannot be joined by characters drawn from another army list. There's also a mercenary chart in the book that shows what happens when you do take mercenaries. Basically, you have to roll a die for every unit, and on a 1 to 6, something happens. So,
yep.
Really, you roll a die, and on 1 to 6, something happens.
Yeah, I believe.
Just describe Warhammer, Peter.
You guys.
I love it. All right. Monster handler. A monster with this special rule is accompanied by one or more models representing its handlers. During deployment, position these models anywhere that is adjacent to and in base contact with the monster. If the handlers are found to be blocking movement or in line of sight, simply move the models. In combat, each handler adds its attacks to those of the monster. If the monster suffers an unsaved wound, roll a d6. On a 1 to 4, the monster loses a wound. But if a 5+ is rolled, a handler model suffers a wound instead. If the monster is removed from play, so are its handlers. I think is it actually? I'm just trying to think. It's the only 2 armies that I know have handlers a lot of the time is Salamanders and Razordons, which aren't going to be seen that much, I don't believe.
Well, not just that, but they have a different monster handler rule.
Oh, how funny!
Use this one.
How funny. So Dark Elves is the other one. The Hydras and the Creepers.
Here's the funny part about that. The handlers don't have a wounds characteristic and are integrated into the base of the model now.
So can anybody think of a model that still has this rule?
Yeah, I really don't know.
Is it the Hell Cannon?
Do Skaven stuff? Like Rat Ogres?
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
That would be one. Yeah.
No, I bet they have their own thing, honestly. That's the only thing I can think of.
What about Squiggards?
Oh, yeah.
I think they're just Motley Crue.
They might be.
Here, I'm gonna pull this up.
The Hell Cannon is the only one I literally can think of, and or possibly some other.
Oh, the Hell Cannon. I think it does have that. Yeah. This is the Hell Cannon rule, Peter.
This is it. That's right.
That's its special rule.
Yeah.
The Hell Cannon. The only thing in Ravening Hordes that has it is the Hell Cannon.
Hilarious.
And let's just see if anything enforces it.
I just adore that I reeled off 2 very legitimate, very good units. Concept units that would have this rule, and neither of them had this rule. It's so funny.
In the Lizardman book.
No. Adam, Dark Elves do have this rule, but it doesn't do anything.
Amazing. That's even better. Wow.
Yeah.
That's somehow even funnier.
Fantasy that has it.
The what does?
Nothing enforces a fantasy as monsters and handlers.
Wow.
And
So hold on. So my Beastmasters don't have a wound characteristic. I mean, I assume that like it's just to add their attacks to the monster's attacks.
Yeah.
But like, what about the D6 thing? If I roll a 5+, does the wound just like go into the ether? I mean, it probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I agree. If there's no wounds characteristic to be distributed on a handler model, I feel like it's just giving it a 5+ regen. That is what this rule is. If it doesn't have a with that interpretation, like it goes into the ether, it's just a 5 regen rule.
Is that if that's true, it makes the model like those models actually good instead of like really bad.
Yeah, it does. It'd be really powerful. But I strongly suspect there is some model to be removed. I suspect that is not the case. Anyway, we got one more USR on this. And Danny, you should take it away.
All right. We got Monster Slayer here, guys. If a modder with this special rule rolls a natural 6 when making a wound roll for an attack made in combat, it has struck a quote-unquote monster slaying blow. Enemy models whose troop type is monster and are not permitted an armor or regen save against a monster slaying blow. Ward saves can be attempted as normal. If an enemy model whose troop type is monster suffers an unsaved wound from monster slaying blow, it loses all of its remaining wounds. It's a really good rule. Because you can kill monsters with it.
I think if you have like relatively easy access to this, there are some metas where this is going to be incredible.
If you're Bretonia,
I was going to say I think only Bretts have decent access. Yeah, that I've seen.
They have the easiest access, I would say, because of the virtue. Yeah.
I can't even think of another one right off the top of my head.
There must be. The big High Elf Sword has it, I'm pretty sure.
The 80, the max points one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bloodthirsters. You can take a Bloodthirster with Monster Slayer.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. I would not be surprised if there is a deluge of monsters headed for our meta, like legitimately.
They're pretty good.
All right, that is going to sum us up for our USRs discussion for this episode. We're going to be moving on to some magical armors and working our way through those in concert. Magical armors. And we'll just do the magical armors. We'll save the talismans and we'll do the talismans and magic standards as their own one next week or the week after. Also, this is a good opportunity to tell you that we're also going to be canvassing for our next faction review, which we're probably going to be doing next week. In the Patreon, our patrons are going to be able to vote on which faction review next. So if you enjoyed the Warriors of Chaos that you heard last week and you'd like to, cast a vote for next week, you should definitely jump into Patreon stuff. Things happen.
You should.
Anyway, all right. Armor of Destiny, 70 points. The Armor of Destiny is super heavy armor.
Whoa, slow down. Whoa. I think there's some important stuff to talk about magical armor.
Like who can take magic armor?
Yeah, and what kind of magic armor you can take.
I thought we'd already... fair enough, okay. Yeah, go.
Well, only a model that is equipped with or that has the option to be equipped with armor, a shield, or barding may purchase a magical equivalent. A model can only wear a single suit of armor and can only carry one shield, and a mount can only wear a single suit of barding. Therefore, magic armor replaces any mundane equipment the model is or may be equipped with. Magic armor follows the same rules as its mundane equivalent. For example, a suit of magical heavy armor will grant its wearer an armor save of 5+. What's important about this is like the interpretation because of equivalent is that unless it specifically calls out that a unit that normally couldn't wear that armor can, like wizards with some of these things. If you have a Glade Lord that can only wear light armor as an option to purchase, you can't purchase a heavy armor magical item. And things like Lizardmen, which I love to talk about, they can't wear any magic armor except for magic hats and shields because they have scaly skin.
Damn fine hats though, just quality.
Hats. Amazing hats,
beautiful lizard hats.
Yeah. Anyway, Armor of Destiny. Thank you. That was actually quite important. 70 points. Is a suit of heavy armor. In addition, the wearer has a 4+ ward save against any wound suffered. I do have to tell you straight off the bat, this is the only mundane magic item. This is the only big blue book magic item that will give you a 4-up ward save. And due to that is extremely important in your lexicon of choices. I see this as, I mean, if you have a combat character, if you have a combat that's going to be seeing frontline, anything, or your general, and you have a special rule and or a general that is very happy just taking a great weapon, this is very nearly auto buy for me. If you want a medium fighty character that, like I said, is very happy with just like a cheap magic weapon or a great weapon. How do you feel about the AOD, lads?
It's very good. It's very good on monsters too.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That is true. I mean, a lot of monsters have a better armor save as well, so you don't care that you only have heavy armor, instead of like a full plate or full plate and a shield. So yeah, totally good call. All right. If nothing else to add, Peter, take it away.
Bedazzling helm, a gleaming helm that confuses and confounds enemies, causing their blows to fall wide of the mark.
What character is that? Can you please tell me?
So it's a Tom Bombadil.
when I'm
Sounds
as
like a goblin. He
dungeon
sounds like
master-
he's in goblin mode right now, to be honest.
as a dungeon master, I have often had to be goblins and gnomes for people, and that's a go-to depending, like a wizened or mischievous goblin or gnome.
Thanks. I hate it.
So, and they would often sell you a bedazzling helm, I assume. Anyway, it may be worn with other armor. The wearer of the bedazzling helm improves their armor value by 1 to a maximum of a 2+. In addition, any enemy model that directs its attacks against the wearer during the combat phase suffers a -1 modifier to its rolls to hit. I love it.
How many points is it?
60 points.
You sloppy bitch.
It's a +1 to your armor save, so it's often the way that a character is going to get to a 2+.
Right.
If it doesn't have access to full plate, and -1 to hit in combat, it's pretty sweet.
I think it's fantastic. I rate the bedazzling helm very highly, especially if you are somebody who already has a high weapon skill. Then you can make people hit you on 5s and 6s. Really powerful.
Yeah.
Danny.
Yep, agree with all that. That's all the facts. I don't think there's anything else needs to be said about that. It's a great item.
Yep.
Amazing. The first 2 magic armors are awesome, and the magic weapons that we really liked were like far and few between.
Yeah. They're all in the middle and the end. Like the first ones. Anyway, you're up.
All right, so we got Armor of Silvered Steel for 40 points. The Armor of Silver Steel is a suit of armor that gives its wearer an armor value of 3+, which cannot be improved in any way. I love this item because you can give a 3-up save to like even a character that has light armor.
Yeah. It doesn't say that it is a heavy armor or a full plate equivalent. It just says it is armor. And if you can give them armor, you can give them this.
Yep.
40 points is on the steepish side, but for a 3-up is genuinely very hard to come by on some characters. Like genuinely very hard.
I mean, for like elves and stuff, it's going to free you up to take great weapons or other two-handed items, and I think that's where it really comes in handy.
I've been building a lot of orcs and goblins lists, and I've been giving my Night Goblin BSP this armor because I feel like it's pretty good for that.
All right, Glittering Scales is up next. I should say, though, that 3-up is the new 2-up, by the way. Whereas in 8th edition and, WAP and stuff like that, 2-ups were, very easy to come by. Now, outside of characters and very specific, very elite cavalry, it's very hard to get a 2-up. So a 3-up is the new 2-up, and 3-up is very strong, especially with much reduced AP across the board. All right, Glittering Scales, 35 points. Glittering Scales is sort of light armor. In addition, once per turn, you may make your opponent reroll a single roll to hit made against the wearer. I don't like this. This used to be -1 to hit. This used to be, Glittering Scales used to be Bedazzling Helm. Like, man, 35 points for light armor and make them reroll 1. If I was weapon skill freaking 10, maybe. But even then, no. Like, no, it doesn't do anything, guys. Yeah, it sucks.
Yep, don't like it.
Don't take it, guys. Listen to Adam.
Listen to Adam. Now
He's
listen to
very smart.
Peter. Tell us about the Shield of the Warrior True.
The shield of the warrior true. A heavy shield of oak and iron that turns aside all but the most deadly of missiles. The shield of the warrior true is a shield.
Wow.
In addition, its bearer has a 5+ ward save against any wounds suffered during the shooting phase.
You just went the voice the whole way through this time. It's like you're escalating.
It's just slowly seeping into him.
It's causing this.
It's taking him over.
This is a cool item, though, right?
Yeah, it's cool, especially on something that's not going to get any kind of unit protection.
I love this on, say, like a peg character, solo peg character, solo fast cav character that is, wants to be hard to kill for its points, and then just has a spear and goes hunts war machines. I think this is or skirmishes and just becomes a problem unit. I actually really like it. Yeah, I'm a fan. Danny.
All right. We got the spell shield, which is 25 points and a common magic item. So you can take no, you can only take one spell shield. You can only take one magic shield. I was thinking you could take like 4.
Yeah.
But you can't do that. That's not allowed.
There was one of the later ones of these shields. I was like, maybe I'll just take like 5 of these. Anyway.
The spell shield is a shield. In addition, its bearer has a 5+ ward save against any wounds suffered that were caused by a magic missile, a magic vortex, or an assailant spell. This is maybe the worst 25-point magic item that I have reviewed thus far.
Correct. You could, yeah. How much is it to take Lodestone to just have magic res on the model, which was just better? 20 points to just give it magic res, which would just be better than this. What's better than having a 5-up against taking damage caused by magic? Not having the magic cast on you at all.
Yep, true.
Yeah, I think that is far whether I want to exist. Armor of Meteoric Iron for 20 points. I actually don't mind this. It's where it gives a wearer an armor save value of 5+, which can't be improved in any way. However, nor can this armor value be reduced in any way either. This I look at as a pseudo ward save.
Yeah.
As in, if you have run out of ways to give out ward saves in your army and you think ward saves are going to be very important for whatever this person's job is, this is a pseudo ward save. So as in, like, it has a 5-up. Like a ward save can't be improved or unimproved. Unimproved. But at the same time, they could hit you with Ren 10. Doesn't matter. You still get a 5-up. So I don't mind this at all for 20 points.
No, I think it's a great 20-point item. It fits on a lot of characters, and it's way cheaper than actually buying them a ward save. The only negative to this is you can't have both, and if you get Killing Blowed or Monster Hunted, you don't get to use this save, right?
Correct. The other thing is you never want to buy this on somebody who has a good armor save. Like if you want to put this on somebody who usually like can only get a 5-up anyway, and then you're like, well, cool, I'll just have a 5-up all the time, thank you. If you can get a freaking 4-up or a 3-up, just take those. The amount of time you're gonna get a 3-up and a 4-up in the game over the 5-up is going to be better anyway. So yeah, anything that's like restricted to like light armor shield, this thing is a banger. Not Peter.
Enchanted Shield. It's a common item for 10 points. A finely crafted and sturdy shield that protects its bearer from harm, time, and time again. The Enchanted Shield is a shield. In addition, its bearer has a 6+ ward save against any wounds suffered that were caused by a non-magical enemy attack.
This used to be auto take in 8th edition. Every army I ever took had the freaking Enchanted Shield. It was 5 points back then, but it was a shield that gave you +2 to your armor save.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I like this sometimes if I have the points. Especially
I don't like you.
Yeah, okay, I know. Especially on like someone like a unit champion. Because like it can mitigate wounds from a challenge, so they're not getting quite so much overkill. Like, but it's just if you have 10 points at the end of the day, right? And you don't have anything else to spend it on. I think this is a cool choice.
Yeah, I think it's totally fine as a gap fill. Like you have the points left.
Yes, but only then.
Only then. Yeah, you're not going out of your way to slap this in. Danny, you got the last one.
All right, we got the Charmed Shield, just like this Charmed podcast. Yeah, look, you see it. That's a callback.
Oh yeah, man.
It's a title line.
Why didn't we do that?
5-point common item.
Why didn't we do that as the logo, like the Charmed Shield? For like
we have a Charmed Shield. It is our logo.
Is it a shield?
It's a shield, right?
It's supposed to be like an in sign. The sign.
Well,
it's
a shield.
Oh, it's a shield now. Now it's the Charmed Shield evermore. No, sometimes on Sundays it can.
So anyway, Charmed Shield, 5 points. Once per game, it can give the bear a 5+ ward save against a single wound, and then it ceases to be anything other than an ordinary non-magical shield.
It loses its charmedness. Its charmedness dissipates, unlike this fine program.
Yeah, of course.
Once again, I think this is exactly the same as Enchanted Shield. If you had 5 points left, instead of 10 points left, you take this.
It's true.
The fact that it's against a single wound, I wish it was just a single phase, man.
Yeah, that would feel a lot better. Honestly, though, that's probably worth 10 points, right?
It is absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Well, remember, this used to be a one-time 2+ ward save.
Yeah, correct.
From a hit,
I am happy that's not a thing anymore, though.
Yeah, me too.
It was a little too good.
Could you imagine all the dragons with this also?
Yes, it's a common magic item as well. It'd be on freaking everything. Yeah, no fun to be had. But surprisingly, like, there's more good than bad here in the magic armors.
Oh yeah,
like Armor of Destiny, Bedazzling, Silvered Steel, Warrior True, Meteoric Iron, all worth taking. 100 easily all worth taking. It's just how much you want to justify spending on your character is literally the only limitations. Yeah, and as we said in I think we said in the I think a part 2 previously, we are, and on this podcast, it may not be universal, but we are more about keeping our stuff alive than we are about killing things, because the reduction in AP and the reduction in armor save, killing is a little bit more easy to come by now, but durability is harder to come by. So if you're taking an expensive character, we believe it is more worthwhile to invest in keeping them alive than it is to maximize their killing ability, especially seeing as like great weapons are actually just legitimately good weapons on everything.
Unless that character is a death hag, Adam, and then I'm going all in on offense.
Well, there is not. What defense could you put on her that's going to be worth? Anyway, you know what I mean.
So if I'm going to take a cauldron, I'm probably with the Pendant of Caliph on it, which is not bad.
Never heard of it.
Oh yeah, the reverse ward save.
I didn't say I wanted to hear about it, Danny.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
Got him.
Just go for it. Sorry. All right. We're gonna call it there. That's soon to be the end of our show. Hopefully, you guys have absolutely adored and enjoyed this. Less lucid than usual. We've been a little bit looser. We've been a little bit more silly, and I've called it. It's been a very good time. Next week we will be reviewing another faction. So please jump into that Patreon and give us your opinions on what you would like us to review next week. Because I feel like the Warriors of Chaos episode went down pretty well. Yeah. In the fact that we haven't had any complaints. That's pretty much the indication.
That's amazing, honestly.
That is legitimately, when you put out content in like nerddoms, you don't look for compliments. You look for just an absence of like pitchforks and flaming brands. Then you're doing all right. Gentlemen, we're going to go over and record part 2. Do the things, say the stuff.
I'm very excited.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to That Old World Charm with those charming chaps Adam, Danny, and Peter the Falcon. Thanks ever so much. Cheerio.